Welcome to Mindful Moments. Nourish your mind on the go.
Yeah.
This video uses AI narration to present our original book analysis. Today, we're diving into the life and times of one of history's most fascinating figures, Catherine the Great.
Oh, yes.
We'll be exploring Robert K. Massie's Catherine the Great, Portrait of a Woman, to unravel how this woman born a German princess named Sophia Augusta Frederica became Empress of Russia.
You know, it's easy to get lost in the grandeur of her title, but what's truly captivating is how she navigated a world of courtly intrigue and political maneuvering to achieve such power. This book really delves into the woman behind the crown, her ambitions, her vulnerabilities, and the choices she made.
It's almost hard to imagine stepping into that world, right? The lavish yet incredibly restrictive Russian court as a young woman, especially when your arranged marriage is to Peter, the heir to the throne, who Catherine herself described as hideous. What must that experience have been like?
Well, Massie paints a vivid picture of the emotional toll this political match took on Catherine. She was thrust into a completely foreign world, surrounded by power struggles, and constantly under scrutiny. Her early education, her fluency in French, her love of literature, all these things she brought with her became tools for survival.
And not just survival, but thriving. Her intelligence and ambition were evident from a young age. Massie talks about a German Bible from her childhood, with every verse she had to memorize underlined in red ink. Talk about dedication.
Oh, absolutely.
She was clearly a woman who understood the importance of meticulous preparation.
Absolutely, and that dedication served her well. As she navigated the treacherous waters of the Russian court, she had to learn quickly, adapt to the ever-shifting political landscape, and build her own alliances. It's fascinating to see how she used her charm and intellect to win over key figures like the Orlov brothers, powerful military men who became crucial to her rise to power.
We often hear about these powerful figures, but it's easy to forget the sheer audacity of what she accomplished. She orchestrated a coup against her own husband, Peter III. This wasn't just a power grab. She had to convince a significant portion of the Russian elite that she was a better ruler, a more stable option for the empire.
And she did so with remarkable finesse. Massie doesn't shy away from the complexities of this period. He details how Peter III's eccentricities and unpopular policies, his obsession with all things Prussian and disregard for Russian traditions, alienated the court and the military, creating the perfect storm for Catherine's ascension.
Okay, so the coup is successful and Catherine becomes empress. But now she faces a new set of challenges, right? How does she actually govern? Does she live up to the ideals she used to gain power?
That's where her commitment to the Enlightenment truly comes into play. She corresponded with Voltaire, championed education, and implemented significant domestic reforms. Now were all her reforms successful? Not necessarily, but her attempts to modernize the legal system, improve the lives of serfs, and engage different classes in discussions about new laws. These were bold moves for a ruler in the 18th century.
At the same time, she's expanding Russia's territory, engaging in wars, and participating in the partitions of Poland. It seems like a bit of a contradiction, embracing Enlightenment ideals while pursuing an aggressive foreign policy.
This is where we see the real politics side of Catherine. She was a pragmatist. She understood that to secure Russia's place as a great power, she had to make difficult choices. Her foreign policy was driven by a complex blend of idealism and strategic calculation.
It's incredible how intertwined her personal and political lives were. Her relationships with men like Sergei Saltykov, Stanislav Poniatowski, and Grigory Potemkin weren't simply romantic affairs. They were deeply entangled with the political landscape of the time.
Potemkin especially emerges as a fascinating figure in Massie's book. He was more than just a lover. He was Catherine's confidant, advisor, and a key architect of her expansionist policies. Their relationship was a roller coaster of emotions. But even when they weren't romantically involved, they remained bound by a shared ambition for Russia.
And then there's her relationship with her son, Paul. This is where things get really interesting. From the beginning, their relationship was strained, plagued by questions of Paul's paternity and Catherine's doubts about his fitness to rule.
This tension is a thread that runs throughout Massie's book. Catherine favored her grandson, Alexander, and even considered changing the line of succession, which only fueled the animosity between her and Paul. It's a reminder that even the most powerful rulers aren't immune to the complexities of family dynamics, the weight of legacy, and the uncertainties of the future.
Catherine's story is so much more than dates and battles. It's a story about a woman who defied expectations and shaped history, but also a story about the human condition, the choices we make, the relationships that define us. And we'll delve deeper into those aspects of her life in our next segment, so stay tuned.
It's almost Shakespearean, right? The struggle between a powerful mother and her ambitious son. You can see how Catherine's experiences, particularly her tumultuous marriage to Peter III, deeply influenced her views on Paul and his potential as a ruler.
Massie really brings those early years with Peter III to life. He was completely out of touch with the realities of ruling Russia. His obsession with Prussia, his disdain for Russian traditions, it alienated everyone around him, creating an opening for Catherine to step in and present herself as a more suitable leader.
And she did so brilliantly. She cultivated allies, built a base of support, and when the time was right, she seized power with a bloodless coup. It's a testament to her strategic thinking and political savvy.
But even after she became empress, the shadow of Peter III loomed large. There were rumors surrounding his death, whispers of foul play, and Catherine had to carefully manage the narrative. To solidify her claim to the throne,
Massie explores those rumors, but he doesn't offer definitive answers. Instead, he presents the evidence and lets you, the reader, draw your own conclusions. It's this nuanced approach to history that makes the book so compelling.
he doesn't shy away from the less flattering aspects of Catherine's reign either. Her involvement in the partitions of Poland, for example, was a strategic move to expand Russia's territory and influence. But it also involved political maneuvering and, frankly, a disregard for the Polish people.
Mm-hmm.
It's a reminder that history is rarely black and white.
Absolutely. Catherine was a product of her time. She was a woman of contradictions, capable of great compassion and ruthless pragmatism. She was deeply influenced by Enlightenment ideals, but she also understood the realities of power and the need to make difficult choices.
One thing that really struck me was the sheer scale of her ambition, not just her political ambitions, but also her desire to cultivate beauty and knowledge. Her construction of the Hermitage, this magnificent palace in St. Petersburg that housed her vast art collection. It's a testament to her vision and her desire to leave a lasting legacy.
You know, the Hermitage started as a small private retreat, a place for Catherine to escape the formality of court life. But as her collection grew, it transformed into this grand symbol of her patronage of the arts and her commitment to creating a vibrant cultural scene in Russia.
And she wasn't just a passive collector. She corresponded with artists and architects, debated design choices, and actively shaped the narrative she wanted to project through art and architecture.
Her correspondence with the sculptor Falconet about the creation of the statue of Peter the Great is a great example. She had very specific ideas about how she wanted Peter to be represented, and she wasn't afraid to challenge Falconet's artistic vision.
It's fascinating to see her engage in these intellectual debates, to see her passion for art and her understanding of its power to shape public perception. It adds another layer to this already complex and fascinating figure.
It's this depth that Massie captures so well. He doesn't just present Catherine as a historical figure, but as a woman who loved, lost, struggled, and ultimately left an undeniable mark on the world.
And that world was changing rapidly around her. The French Revolution, the execution of Louis VI. These events had a profound impact on Catherine, initially sympathetic to the ideals of liberty and equality. She became increasingly fearful of the radicalism and violence that unfolded.
It was a turning point for her. It solidified her belief in the need for strong leadership and a firm hand to maintain order. The French Revolution became a cautionary tale for her, a reminder of the dangers of unchecked revolutionary fervor.
And it made her even more determined to suppress any dissent within her own empire. She tightened control, cracked down on those she perceived as threats, and became more cautious in her approach to reform. It's a reminder that even the most powerful rulers are not immune to the forces of history.
It's a fascinating study of how external events can shape a leader's thinking and actions, and it sets the stage for the final chapter of Catherine's life, a chapter marked by increasing uncertainty and the looming question of succession.
As she aged, the issue of who would inherit the throne became more pressing. Her relationship with Paul remained strained, and she began to look more favorably on her grandson Alexander, seeing in him the potential for a more enlightened ruler.
But the question of whether she would actually attempt to bypass Paul in the line of succession remained unanswered.
And then in November of 1796, Catherine suddenly died. The exact circumstances of her death are still debated, but the impact was immediate and profound.
It's a dramatic end to a remarkable life. The reign of Catherine the Great, one of the most consequential rulers in Russian history, came to an abrupt end, and her legacy, a complex tapestry of achievement, ambition, and controversy, continues to fascinate and inspire debate to this day.
Makes you think about all the work she put in, and she still couldn't control what happened after she was gone.
Right. It's a powerful reminder that even those who wield immense power are still subject to the forces of time and circumstance. And for Catherine, the unresolved tension with Paul, It really cast a long shadow over her final years.
Imagine that weight right. Knowing that your own son might undo everything you've worked so hard to achieve.
Oh, yeah.
Massie doesn't shy away from the darker aspects of their relationship. He explores the psychological impact of Catherine's constant comparisons between Paul and Peter III, her anxieties about Paul's temperament, and the rumors she helped fuel about his legitimacy.
It's a complicated story, and Massie does a brilliant job of presenting both sides without passing judgment. You see Catherine's genuine desire for what she believed was best for Russia, but also her deep-seated fear of losing control and seeing her legacy tarnished.
What's fascinating is that even though Paul reversed many of Catherine's policies when he took the throne, her influence continued to be felt. The Hermitage, her grand project to showcase Russia's cultural prowess, remained a symbol of her reign.
Yeah.
Her expansionist policies, while controversial, laid the groundwork for Russia's continued growth as an empire, and her commitment to education, while not always perfectly executed, planted seeds that would bear fruit in later generations.
You can't erase history. Catherine's impact on Russia, for better or worse, is undeniable. And I think that's what makes her story so compelling. It forces us to confront the complexities of power, the nuances of human relationships, and the enduring legacy of choices made centuries ago.
We started this deep dive by asking how a German princess became Empress of Russia. And through Massie's insightful portrait, we've uncovered so much more than just the historical facts. We've glimpsed the personal struggles, the political maneuvering, the triumphs and the heartbreaks that shaped Catherine the Great.
If you're looking to understand not just the events, but the motivations and the emotions behind one of history's most captivating figures, I highly recommend Catherine the Great, Portrait of a Woman by Robert K. Massie.
Absolutely. It's a beautifully written and meticulously researched book that will leave you with a richer understanding of this remarkable woman and her times. You can find a link to purchase the book in the description below.
And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more explorations into fascinating historical figures and the books that bring them to life.
We'll be back soon with another episode. Until then, keep those minds mindful